Thank you for listening to Scandinavian Crimes Podcast. Be sure to check out the episode links and be part of our other social media platforms where you can leave a topic suggestion or even share some of your insights regarding the subject matter of the episode. We will always do our best to provide a well-researched episode, but sometimes due to limited access to information and translation issues, some information can be lost. It is therefore good to do your own research and get a deeper understanding of a case of your own interest. So with that all said, let us start today's episode.
Welcome to another episode of Scandinavian Crimes. My name is Devante, and say hello to my lovely co-host, Delila. And on this podcast, we will discuss famous Scandinavian criminals who made their mark throughout Scandinavian history. So today is going to be a very interesting subject because it's not particularly about any crime specifically, but it's something that's actually current events and that has a wide effect across the globe. This is regarding the whole situation regarding TikTok. Now, for those of you who don't know, TikTok is currently, the CEO of TikTok is currently being questioned by Congress over here in the US, specifically because of privacy concerns. And I say that in air quotes, but in order to make sure that this conversation is very coherent and making sure that everyone can keep up, I'm going to summarize some of the things that have happened so far because this is still technically ongoing and I would love you guys' opinion on it. So I want to make sure you understand fully because I know algorithms change from country to country, and this discussion I truly want you all involved with because I think it is important because this doesn't just affect the US, this potentially can affect the planet. So let's chat about it. There are a few issues related to TikTok that have been discussed by CEOs and congressmen. So here's an overview of some of the main issues related to TikTok that have been discussed in the news and by government officials over here. So one of the main concerns related to TikTok has to do with the concerns about the app's data privacy and security. TikTok is owned by a Chinese company called ByteDance, and some US officials have raised concerns that the app could be collecting and sharing kind of various user data with the Chinese government. Now, in response to these concerns, some lawmakers have proposed banning the app or requiring companies to remove it from the employee devices. So, in addition to that privacy concern, there have also been concerns about the content shared on TikTok. Some lawmakers have criticized the app for allowing inappropriate content such as videos that promote hate speech or misinformation. And in response, TikTok has taken steps to increase its moderation efforts and remove content that violates its community guidelines. And finally, there have been some discussions of how TikTok plays a role in the broader geopolitical landscape. So some officials suggested that the app could be used for propaganda purposes or to spread disinformation about the United States or other countries. And as a result, a lot of the lawmakers have proposed banning the app or restricting its use by government employees. Overall, the issues related to TikTok are deemed complex and kind of multi-layered, but there are a variety of opinions and viewpoints regarding what's going on with TikTok, just so we are clear. Here are a few questions the Congress had asked TikTok CEO. These questions are: has the Chinese government ever sought access to TikTok user data? Will TikTok shed its Chinese ownership? Can the Tao app interfere with TikTok data flows? Are US data controls much weaker than a company says they are? Can Project Texas answer the lawmakers' concern about TikTok? What is TikTok doing to protect children from harmful content? Now, a ban on TikTok obviously could significantly impact both the US and other countries, as the app has become one of the most popular social media platforms in the world. For US to ban TikTok, it could potentially, kind of interfere with the idea of free speech and limiting access to platforms that many people use to entertain themselves and use as a form of expression. It could also have an economic impact as well because TikTok has become a major advertising platform and employs many people in the US and other countries as well to promote on the platform. A ban could potentially harm the US and China relations and lead to retaliation from China against the US companies or even individuals as well. So in other countries also, a ban on TikTok could also impact free speech and limit access to popular platforms, but it also could have economic, implications as TikTok become a huge revenue source for businesses around the world. Additionally, a ban could further exacerbate tensions, and I kind of already discussed that, but the borders of the geopolitical implications could actually expand further than just between the US and China because of this. Now, many users agree that TikTok is a platform which helped many people share information, as well as a method in bringing attention to things that usually would never have been seen if it wasn't for that platform. Things like police brutality, toxic work cultures, and even toxic relationship cultures, even other countries and what they have to offer culturally. The main two theories floating around is that 1, they're preventing the spread of information amongst low-class workers, and 2, this is all involved with money. So as many of you may know or may not know, the government over here, we have a debt ceiling that has been reached, and supposedly it's been suspended until about, I believe, June, which means we don't have a lot of money to, kind of borrow or kind of spend out anymore. And this could be an opportunity for the United States to use TikTok as leverage for them to basically lower the amount of money they owe China for the work that they've been producing for the US. Even though I do think that's a situation where that's a very high possibility. I think a lot of the reasons why TikTok is being banned, me personally, this is now my personal opinion, is I think that the information that a lot of people have been able to share between each other, and a lot of information that we have been able to use to better our lives and learn on the platform, has allowed some people to make smarter choices. And I do know a lot of companies like people to be ignorant, especially in a country like this where capitalism is running rampant and kind of uninterrupted. So more and more people are getting more information, they're making smarter choices, and believe it or not, the US government is not above trying to prevent things, because this whole thing only came to be because Facebook, aka Meta, was lobbying to get this app banned, even though all the concerns that they brought to TikTok was concerns that have been confirmed that Facebook and Instagram does on their own time. So this is something that's already being done by American companies, but the reason why they don't want to do it is because other companies like Meta, for some reason, feel like if TikTok is doing it, it's wrong just because it's not them, or they fear what TikTok will become if it does not, get into the hands of an American company. So that's kind of the summary and a little bit of my opinion, and I'll hand it off to Delila and she can kind of go over what she feels about this situation in general. And also one more thing, for those of you who don't understand quite how the United States government works, especially when it comes to Congress, maybe they don't teach that in, where you're from. The United States Congress is a legislation of the federal government. Basically, it's a way for different states, different areas of the country to have representation in the House of Representatives. So basically, this is what builds and makes the government. So they each vote based on what state they represent, and each state gets, a certain amount of representatives based on population and a couple other factors. But the main thing is that's what Congress is. So this is a culmination of representatives who represent their prospective states and territories within, the United States and all that jazz. So just to get that part out the way, that's pretty much so that way we're all on the same page. But so this is what I also had to tell you guys. So in this part of the podcast, in general, once we get to certain parts of the discussion, I'm going to include pieces of TikTok videos that were used not only during this actual court trial, but also some pieces of TikToks where, online people giving their opinion about the situation, because this is pretty much what's driving the case, where, a lot of people are giving their opinion online and kind of, using TikTok as a way to communicate what's going on with this ban and different theories as well. So we're not going to flood you with those videos. What we're going to show you, we can't really show you, can hear it. And we'll be sure to mention those creators by name, and we'll mention those creators on something tangible, so that way if you want to go see the videos for yourself, you can click it, if you decide to want to click off the podcast after you're done here, and you can go check those out in our link tree. But we're going to mention those during the discussion just so everything has full context, because this is still up for litigation. So everything here, even what the government says over here, there's nothing absolute set in stone, nor is most of the evidence they presented. This is all just a matter of opinion. So without further ado, Delila, please.
So, there was a lot of things that, the government was concerned about, but I wanted to also start off with some clearance, and basically they talked about, a lot about the ByteDance and their worries about it being Chinese owned and everything. So originally, it was founded by Chinese entrepreneur Zhang Yiming in 2012. However, the company today is a limited company and is owned by many different people, which also Mr. Chu said in the hearing, and it started from 2021. How, the company in itself, ByteDance, that is however, the headquarters is in Beijing, China. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's why they are still worried that even though it is a limited company, that the Chinese governments have some type of they're part of it somehow, and that they can steal the data or anything like that. And what I, however, think is a little bit, there's a lot of things that is very hypocritical about this whole hearing. So I'm also going to talk about something, the major thing, which is that the US is supposed to be this country of freedom, which we already can know that it's not really like that, especially with this proposal of banning TikTok. TikTok has been a really huge influence for many people of all ages, and most of the time we can get a lot of information only from TikTok than the news outlets nowadays, because people just post everything immediately.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that in this introduction, and I just wanted to say how important that is for many people. That's why also people love TikTok, because you can learn and see many things, which also Mr. Chu said. And to ban or censor or have control over that is not really freedom of speech. I'm also going to go back to that later on in this discussion as well. So during the hearing, which is, I watched an hour of it, mm-hmm. and I just had to take breaks because I thought it was very interesting. They did interrupt him many times. They did not let him speak. They only tried to make him answer a yes or no questions, and sometimes they didn't even question with a yes or no answer, but they still wanted him to say yes or no. And they also tried to trap him with the questioning that they were doing. And that seems to be a petty lawyer kind of mentality, I guess.
Of course it is. This is the US. Come on now.
And it seems like a drama, it seemed like a Kardashian, I felt like I was watching a reality show or something. It felt so
stupid. Because even some of the questions, what was it? It was what color's the algorithm? What do you mean, what color is the algorithm? And he was
what are you? Yeah. It's he was just and sometimes he just I don't know what you're asking, so I will come back to you on that, but I think you mean like this. And he's I was I'm so, so yes, it's, it was very, very unprofessional, I think, mm-hmm. I would say. It wasn't everyone of the there wasn't all of the
representatives.
Thank you. I just choked on that word right there. There wasn't all of them, but most of them, or many of them, were like this. And I think I don't think is it possible for they basically wanted him to look bad rather than trying to find answers.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, and we talked about it before, but since we're on that part where not all of them were acting like that, I am not surprised, and I already told you this, I am not surprised that Congresswoman Clark for New York was one of the very few people who asked legitimate questions, who knew what was going on regarding how the app works, as well as being representative for, okay, well, how does your algorithm work when it comes to people of color? Like, she was asking very legitimate questions, and she was respectful, and she was super, she waited for him to finish. She spoke in complete sentences. She didn't do that whole back and forth thing. And I don't care. What I'm about to say right now, I don't care. So I want y'all to know this. So when it comes to very progressive states, like New York, even like LA's like kind of iffy, depending on where you go, but progressive states similar to New York, where we're very accepting of a lot of cultures, a lot of different types of people for the most part, it reflects in the people we vote for. They don't act like a lot of those people who are a part of, who either Republicans or, those really uptight conservatives who are from like those states. It's really reflective in the way that they behave. And she was a prime example of someone who, my job is to come up with a solution. My job is to represent the people that I'm here to represent. And she did that perfectly. Perfection. I mean, chef's kiss. And I feel like at this point, I'm just going to drop the audio so you can hear some of the questions she asked. And I want you to hear how she's communicating with this man. So here, take a listen to this and let me know what you think about the situation.
Problems of social media platforms, content moderation, algorithmic discrimination, and safety are neither new nor unique to TikTok. For example, I was disturbed by reports that TikTok content moderation algorithm flagged words like Black or Black Lives Matter as inappropriate content. So my first question, Mr. Chu, is do you agree that platforms like TikTok should be subject to regular audits or transparency requirements to identify whether policies have a disparate impact on communities that are protected classes like race, religion, national origin, or gender?
I think, Congresswoman, I think platforms should be very transparent. You can come and say whatever you want, as long as you don't violate the rules of safety that were put in place.
It is vital that the diverse culture of the United States is reflected online, but I'm concerned the algorithms and content moderation practices employed by TikTok are ignorant to the fundamental diversity while also failing to remove content that is harmful. My next question to you is, it's my understanding that users must be in good standing to be eligible for compensation from TikTok's Creator Fund. For example, they can't have violated community guidelines. Is this correct?
There are some details there, but directionally, yes.
If TikTok's algorithm is flagging content incorrectly, resulting in creators violating community guidelines when in fact they have not, those creators would not be eligible to receive compensation under the Creator Fund, correct?
We do have an appeals process.
You have an appeals process, okay.
Yes.
In my view, if TikTok employs algorithms that disproportionately remove content from Black creators, it disproportionately silences and excludes Black creators from compensation opportunities. And this problem happens in parallel to the lack of adequate recognition, attribution, and compensation to Black creatives for their content. The exploitation, cultural misappropriations, the erasure of Black creatives' ownership of their fashion, art, and media is nothing new. We need transparency, accountability, and bold action to mitigate against misinformation, bias, and exclusion of certain communities from the opportunities present on platforms like TikTok. So let me just say this. I'm concerned about transparency. I am concerned about algorithmic accountability. And I'm not clear that your organization holds those values.
But you see what I mean, right? It was just perfection.
I want to applaud, but I can't because that will mess up my mic thing. So I just yes, we love that. And I just wish that everyone were like this. Like, you don't have to agree or disagree. Just be professional.
Right.
Like, she was amazing. I wish that everyone was like that, but not everyone. And even some of them just interpreted his answers for him. So they asked the question. They said yes, no, yes, yes, no. And then he was basically like saying one word, which was not yes or no. And then we're like, okay, yes, I take that as a no. I take that as a yes.
I'm reclaiming my time.
and then be like, I'm reclaiming my time. Okay, bye. And I was like, what? Are you guys serious right now?
It's not a conversation.
What is going on? This was only like a monologue showcasing how we hate TikTok, basically. That's what it sounded to me.
That's what it is.
And I just think that in overall, I think he presented himself very well. He had composure, he talked, and he basically did a really good job protecting his company. And I just didn't appreciate how even the what's it called, the hedge the
senator who was in charge, who was leading
the senator,
this,
yes, thank you. Yeah, her introduction was basically saying that you are Chinese spies. Like, it was no like alleged. We are here today to judge you or to talk about these issues. It was like, we know this about your company. We know you are spies. And he was like, I have to disagree on that. Like, you can't really say that. Like, that's not fair, you know? And it was so biased. And it just looked to me that they tried to make TikTok look bad rather than trying to find solutions, or like, you know, trying to, you know, they seemed to showcase that we are worried, but it didn't look like it. It looked like they tried to trash on TikTok.
I mean, yeah, essentially, yeah. That's really what it is. This is for I say this also, I say this to Delila, but I say this to everyone else who does not know U.S. politics. It's not about solutions. None of our politics are about solutions. It's about who can they blame and who can they buy. So in this case, it's both. They're trying to blame him for things that have existed before TikTok even became popular. And Facebook has been, the funny part is Facebook, who lobbied most of these politicians to do this, has been in the same seat that the CEO has been for TikTok. They have done this before, knowing that if they can't control something, they're going to try and make you look bad until you do something that allows them to control you. And it's not about solutions, for real. It's about control, because nothing changed necessarily about Facebook and their policies and what they do. It's just now, whenever the government feels ready that I don't like this person's post, I think you need to take care of this and make an algorithm that's going to delete posts like this. That's all it's for. It's control. And I hate to say it, but the government is evolving into something of a totalitarianism, in a sense where there's no real true freedom of speech, or, you know, no real true freedom. It's as long as you fit into a certain mold, that's kind of what they allow to be acceptable. But like I said, it's not about solutions. And he's a better man than me, honestly. If I was in that position, I'm like, look, we're not having a conversation, clearly. So I'm going to walk out.
I would just be like, okay, thank you for not letting me speak. Yeah. Bye. It's like,
I just would have, I'm like, I'm leaving. Let me know when you're ready to actually have a conversation.
But he was smart, though. He showcased that you guys not going to let me speak. Fine. I'm just going to sit here and the people will see. Like, he was so... I think he just did amazing with how he presented himself throughout the whole time. And he just showcased how flawed the comedy is in, like, you know, throughout the whole hearing. And another thing that I wanted to talk about as well is how the many of the representatives said that TikTok, and blame TikTok, just specifically TikTok, about misinformation and miscommunication regarding, for example, medical information. Right. So they had that as an example. And I was like, wait a minute, YouTube have done the same thing.
I'm sorry, that
for years.
That just gets under my skin, and this is going to be an episode where I talk a lot, because I have some very big opinions.
You go ahead. It's all yours. Like, I'm already like Steve.
So like, the thing with the pharmaceutical companies, you already know, they lobby the government too. So I know Facebook is the one driving this force, but So one thing that's been happening because of TikTok is a lot of hospitals, I've seen it with my own eyes, have been very upset with TikTok because there are a lot of nurses, doctors, and people who work in the insurance companies that either they left or they just felt like spilling secrets that have revealed things that have allowed people who either have health insurance or don't have health insurance to move and navigate the healthcare system without going broke. Secrets have been spilled. Like one of the examples I'll give is itemized bills from the hospital. Legally, a hospital cannot turn you down if you've been hurt, injured, you're sick. They cannot turn you down, but they will try and charge you for it, even if you don't have the money. And they'll say, oh yeah, what's your address? One, you don't have to legally, you don't have to give them your address. But two, if they for some reason have your address, they have to send you an itemized bill. You have to request it, and they have to charge you the real price for things and not the inflated prices that they charge insurance. And because people have gotten hip about that on TikTok, they have been pushing to get to, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost willing to bet everything I own that they are a part of the reason why that was even brought up, because it's not misinformation about the healthcare system, because this stuff is true. A lot of that stuff is true. But the thing is, they don't like that information is public anymore. There's no secrets with TikTok. Everything is out in the open. People are making smarter choices because now there's no secrets. And people are getting frustrated because secrets cause you to lose money. And we all know that the U.S. loves some good old capital gain. So that's what it's really about.
And also, I just want to say that there also have been research that have proved that improving health without certain medications. And that's another thing that, Japan has done this, it found this, how to treat certain things.
Right.
I don't know all of the diseases. And like, this country have done that. Why isn't America the biggest and the most best country?
Air quotes.
Have not done that, in quotes. And that's because the medical companies who produce the medicine, they are basically the ones ruling everything. They want their medicine and everything to be bought and sold. And that's why certain research, even though it's proved to be amazing and treated many people in other countries, is not practiced and not known in like America. So TikTok have also provided those things as well, which also people have questioned, why aren't we practicing this? Why aren't we doing this? And I think, even though there's a lot of miscommunication and misinformation and everything in social media in general,
right,
I think still TikTok have proved a lot of things that have showcased something that could help other countries, and you can learn in that way too, as well as YouTube. Or like YouTube, for example, the licensed practitioners and medical field people, right, they have the lowest view rate if they talk about certain subjects. The longer it is, the shorter, like the lower the views. And even if it's shorter and summarized, it's not really like including anything that is like relevant and good. But those who are not licensed and are those who practice things on themselves and want to share the information, they only do what worked for them, and it might not work for people. And they do say that in the video as well, but people take that as
gospel.
Exactly. So there's still miscommunication from unlicensed people in social media in general. So I think that this argument was just like, you can't blame TikTok for this. This is a social media issue, not TikTok specifically.
Right.
And he even said it himself, like he was like, we're going to try to fix this. But, this is a place for creative people to showcase, He did put it in a nicer word, I guess, but this is a social media issue. If you gotta blame TikTok, blame everybody. Right, in that case.
You can't blame a company for, as an adult, it is my responsibility to confirm and verify information. Exactly. It's not the company's responsibility. That's my information. That's my responsibility.
They even say don't don't Google everything, because, you know, you can't trust Google fully either.
Right.
So it's like, I just feel like that's a hypocritical point of view.
But I'll say it like this, though, because you said, I agree. Google is like, you can't trust it.
People say, like, don't Google everything. You can't trust it, but you can learn things.
You can learn
which
things.
Which applies to TikTok as well.
So this things. So this is, I say, this is a skill that I'm pretty sure we both learned this in college. And I think it should be taught in high school in general. I think, you know, they're starting to implement. But when you're doing research, you don't pull from one source. If you want to make a very educated guess, you pull from multiple sources. You compile information. Exactly. You compile information, and then you figure out what's consistent and what's not. And then you come up with your own hypothesis, an educated guess based on compiled information, not just a single source, compiled. And you can make better guesses, better educated guesses and assumptions, and you'll be working with better information compared to a single source that can be completely wrong. So that is the tool that you need to use when you're comparing information online to get the most accurate, or at least information that's a lot more consistent, by compiling.
I also wanted to say something, like, I you know, I'm not going to be like, oh, TikTok is perfect. Mr. Chu did give a lot of generalized information about solutions. They weren't really detailed, and I see the point where the Congress was like, give us something tangible. But I still think that Mr. Chu did do amazingly, you know, especially where he couldn't really talk or answer anything. But I do understand the point where he, at least for the first hour, that he didn't really, he gave very generalized answers and information, which I would have loved to hear a little bit more of details. But I also know there's not a lot of time to do that. But I can understand the committee's point for that. But generally, I'm very questionable of how the hearing went. Because this part, you know, we already seen on TikTok and everywhere else how, you know, the knowledge regarding basic, like, function of how apps and internet works, that it really showcased how they weren't really that knowledgeable. At least some of the representatives were just like...
Most of the representatives. Okay,
I'm just gonna say most of it. The comment of, like, the Wi-Fi thing, I just sat, he was like, I felt so bad for him. He was like, I don't know, I have to get back. Okay, I have to get back on that. It's like, I just sat there and I was like, if you're gonna represent a whole state, and I feel like you at least should get some knowledge of the basics of how it works. And if you are unaware of how it works, at least ask in that case so you can have clarity. But I think because you only have 5 minutes, you should know at least the basics,
right? And
ask questions that are good, you know, compared to the New York representative who were really knowledgeable. Well, you could tell
Congresswoman
that the questions were really good.
That was
like,
a beautiful,
snap fingers for that one. Like,
thing.
Yes. Either way, so I wanted to talk about another thing. Oh wow, I have a lot of things to talk about, but like this,
it's going to be
about
a long episode
promoting
today.
Violence against a committee. So committee officials, I guess. There was one who put up evidence that basically showcasing a video on TikTok that a gun, in that we are, like, basically saying, I'm gonna shoot up the place during this date and this time in the committee or whatever, or to the Congress. And this was up on TikTok for 41 days or something like that. And this, I think it was Iowa, I can't remember, but it was one representative that just showcased the video and said that this is unacceptable, this is a threat. But if we just go back a couple of years, we do remember that Trump did the same thing on Twitter.
He did.
He basically always called out his like followers, right? On social media, especially Twitter. Twitter nor any other social platforms got banned or criticized for that. And Twitter and all the other social medias didn't ban him until after the riots attacked the Capitol. And I think that's very ironic. Why didn't Twitter or any other platforms get any repercussions for this free speech policy thing? Right? I just think it's a little bit hypocritical, and it's even worse now with the new Twitter and Elon Musk and everything, with a higher chance of harmful content and the free speech and propaganda that they also mention. So I think I don't know, I feel that that's very hypocritical, and you know, the CEO, in this case, it wasn't the CEO that initiated anything. This is only a social platform that people put in content. So the CEO or TikTok didn't promote anything like Trump did, who were the president, mind you. And he even is willing to like change the policies, is trying to decrease this whole harmful content and everything. And he even admitted that we are not perfect. We're trying our best. We're trying everything. And they're like, that's not enough. And I'm like, okay, well, look at Twitter.
Right. Look at Facebook.
Look at the other
Twitter.
platforms.
All the time this stuff happens. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all of them have done guilty of it. But
and even like Facebook, he literally sold like data.
He was caught.
And so
you know what's funny?
Got caught.
He sold data to the same government that they're afraid that TikTok might be letting get information. The same government.
And I'm like, I'm just appalled how after he got caught, that's when they tried to be all mean to him. But he did it, like how, like he did that. I think it's hypocritical. I don't think that's okay. And you can't just like hate on TikTok because the father, what's it called? The ByteDance are from China, I guess. And then TikTok isn't really from China. Everything was done in America, right?
Right,
if
essentially.
I correctly.
I felt like a lot of it was built up here.
Yeah. And I think that the Congress should instead of seeing that video as a threat, understand that see that as a sign that the people don't want the government to ban TikTok. Like they should see it as a sign that they are angered and that nobody wants this at all. And I hope that the people who watch the hearing and in general understand that it's a bit hypocritical when they have let other social medias done even worse things than TikTok haven't even done yet. I mean, it hasn't been proved that they have done anything yet, at least.
Yeah, they haven't done anything. Like I said, they've only been doing with any other standard practice.
And they're already
social
judging them
done.
as if they have.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. Here's the consequence, because I'm pretty sure you're listening to this and you're like, well, you like to know the news and current events, but you're probably wondering how is this going to like affect, like, even just outside of us, how can this can affect other people? So I'm pretty sure we all know, everyone knows that, you know, when it comes to like a lot of social standards, unfortunately, the US, for some very twisted reason, is like the head of all this. If something happens here, it doesn't take long before it gets to other places. And TikTok has been a platform not only for creativity. Yes, there's been some people who have these boneheaded opinions who are very toxic for the platform, but also it's been a platform for people to reach more people about situations, about things that are really important. Things like I've mentioned before, like, you know, there's been sexual assault cases that never got investigated, but because of TikTok, they got investigated. There have been people who had their homes destroyed and literally insurance claims would not cover it because they felt like it wasn't necessary. But because of TikTok, they got something done because those videos went viral. People have used it as a platform to reach people, to make a change.
TikTok is for the people.
Yeah, and it was really sad because if they take this away here, which I'm pretty sure we'll survive, but they take it away here, a platform where we use it not only to create but to reach more people, then what's going to happen to places like, Canada? What thing is going to happen in Europe? They're going to see, oh, they were able to do it over there. Well, guess what? We're going to do it over here too. And it's not necessarily simply, because, well, if I'm being quite frank, every government has their motives and there's a reason why things transpire the way they do. But in general, I'm just saying, if it usually happens one place at some point or another, it does affect people around the world in one way or another, whether they take it away or limit how you view TikTok. Because I think even in China, I think they only limit, certain things you can see, certain times of the day. It's going to change your social environment very quickly because of what's happening in one big country. So just like how the whole USB-C thing in Europe, what was it, in the UK with Apple, people are pushing it over here now.
Yeah.
So, one thing as small as a USB cable can affect all over the world, and people are pushing it. Things like this can affect other countries as well. So it's important where if you want things like this if you want like a platform like TikTok to stick around, you have to make sure you're putting people in charge who have the same views and values as you do, and not just, irrelevant values, things that don't mean, much of anything. Because guess what? No Congress person, well, I don't know in another country how it works in terms of, the government specifically, but whoever your representative is, they're not going to have identical values down to the small, minute details. But at least understand that those people need to represent what you feel, what you think, and what you want for your future. Because then you'll end up in situations like we are right now, where I'll say about half the country is brainwashed. They really will vote against their own self-interest because of whatever mindset they have, and don't realize how much they're losing by letting stuff like this happen without questioning, without figuring out where this went wrong. And unfortunately, as you can see, everyone's laughing at America, and I can't blame them. There's a lot of mistakes we're making because there's some people who refuse to just open their eyes and just critically think about situations. So that's the only advice I give. Make sure your representatives, wherever you are, represent your values, what you want. And I think for the most part, you should be okay. Don't be like us. Learn from our mistakes.
Another thing from the hearing that really made me lose, I don't trust the government. Honestly, I don't trust them. But this evidence seemed really fishy. So the representative of Iowa was stated evidence from a memo within the company from an unknown employee, or I guess, that said that to downplay the China Association. And she used that as proof to hide things from the Congress, basically. Mm-hmm. And this evidence, I don't trust it, honestly. But, that's a me opinion. But it could have been because it could have been forged by the government, or it could have been not the complete or fully the whole truth of it. They took a part of it, basically.
Yeah, that's probably what happened, honestly.
Yeah. So, or maybe internally in the company, they knew that if they even mentioned China, they would use a link to that and try to take it as an advantage thing. So they wanted to protect as much as they could.
Yeah.
It could have been a strategy in general. But, I guess what she's trying to say is that this is proof that they have some relationship with China, and he's trying to hide it and stuff. Mr. Chu himself said that he never seen this memo at all, and the representatives told him or said to him that you can't answer this, basically.
Yeah, it's fishy.
Yeah, it was. I just sat there and I just looked at his eyes, and he was like, "I'm so dead." He was like, okay. He looked like he was just, I don't know what to say. Basically, he said, at least he had the time to defend himself and said, "I have never seen this memo." So and also one of the examples that was later on in this hearing that was used as propaganda was actually an American just questioning the government regarding their ban, that why are they doing this? Mm-hmm. And then someone just put Mandarin letters on this video and called it propaganda, and they used that as evidence that was on TikTok, basically. And the content creator himself noticed this and put another video in claiming that this is false. This was just me questioning the government, and I'm an American.
So she says that, right? So I want you to hear his response to him finding out that they use his video for this situation, and then I just want you guys to hear what he has to say and just see how funny this is. So here, take a listen.
Because apparently CNN ran my face last night and showed this at 9 p.m. to the nation. They ran a whole special about TikTok and then showed my face with Chinese characters around it, basically implying that I'm Chinese propaganda. What the fuck is this? Like, legit, I made a video, right? The whole point of the video was asking the Biden administration to please explain why we are suddenly so obsessed with banning TikTok. That was it. That's the video. This one right here, this one that they're talking about, I posted, it got like 2 million views. Somebody downloaded the video and put Mandarin characters on it and then reposted it in China. And then look at this. CNN's like, oh, they're using it to inflame anti-U.S. sentiment. Oh, those Chinese. And I'm like, no. Could you imagine if some red-haired buffoon in China was screaming, explain it to me, Xi Jinping. Explain it to me. No, it doesn't happen there. They're so confused right now as to how we as a nation can scream like this, just shouting left and right. And yeah, this screenshot is from my Instagram. Shut up. And it's from my Tumblr. See? Because I use the same name on everything, including my podcast, Pearlmania 500. I'm on everything but Twitter and Snapchat. I'm too old for Snapchat. But I love this, dude. I love it. I'm sitting in the same spot. Look, there's the mirror. I'm sitting in the same exact spot here in Pennsylvania, inflaming Chinese propaganda. Fuck, dude.
So it's like you hear stuff like this, and it's just like it's really a clown show over here. Like, literally,
I'm just like sorry. Like,
it's a clown show.
So a little bit of a correction. It seemed that the video regarding the American with the Mandarin letters on his video, it was a CNN that posted that image and basically said those things. So it wasn't anything part of the Congress as evidence. It was mostly the CNN who just used that as a image to say it was a propaganda. So that's a correction of mine. And this was just basically, I was talking mostly of the first hour, but I've seen like videos and stuff on TikTok, from the who talked and discussed about this, and I feel like everyone was feeling the same thing. And agree, and I agree with them. And we also found because it's TikTok, we see and find more evidence and more information regarding this whole issue. You can even find in this TikTok CEO, he was making fun of the
when he came in,
yes or no,
he was like, what color's algorithm? He was like, because it's true. Those questions are so so stupid. Like,
would you like to do this? Yes or no? Say yes. Moving on.
What color is the algorithm?
Say yes. Well, thank you very much for preparing for this. I know it's great work. I know it was very nerve-wracking.
It wasn't even a yes or no question.
Yeah, it was just, it's so dumb. And and on TikTok too, this is hilarious. This is why this platform in a lot of ways it's just hilarious. So people have realized how a lot of during like past that first hour, that a lot of the Congress was like saying like, on my TikTok feed, all I see is transvestites and little children.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like,
exactly.
And I'm just like, do you not know how algorithms work? Because you're seeing that because that's what you interact with. The more you interact with it, the more you see it. So you know what you just told us right now? That you watch little like kids and you watch trans people on your feed. You just admitted to this, and like as if we're gonna brush by this. So I'm like, you just dug yourself a hole, like you not knowing that's what an algorithm is. The more you interact, the more it shows you. I'm just, as I said, they don't have basic knowledge of like how it works, and he just busted himself like admitting that he has some type of relationship with those kind of videos. And I just wanted to say regarding the child protection thing as well, he did say that we have, like, they did ask him like, oh, Mr. Shu, do you let your children watch TikTok? And he was like, no, like, and they're like, why aren't you letting your children watch that? He's like, because they don't need to watch it. They're like young kids. Yeah. And it's not like in many cultures, many people don't let their kids like be online that much. It's only in America.
Until a certain age, until I guess they're like teenagers or start to be teenagers, because that's when they are aware of things and stuff.
It's only in America that little toddlers will be on an iPad.
And like Western countries, I guess, as well.
Yes. It's horrible. And what was it? I was about to say something else. It's just, like I said, it's just ironic because he even answered that question as well, to continue what you were saying about how he said we practice standard, practices in terms of age restrictions. So once the account has been deemed that you're a child, you cannot, as an adult, you cannot interact with a child account. You can't really follow. I don't know if you can follow it personally, but you can't message children. I don't even think you can write anything in their comments if you're someone who's above a certain age or you're not their parent. So it's like he does everything. And also the
videos that they watch is also age.
Yeah, it's age restricted
as well.
Yeah, so it's like he does everything that he's supposed to do, but then it's just like they're trying to put him in a trap with limited. First, they don't know anything about the app, and then they're trying to trap him.
You can tell that
with their reasoning and logic behind something, when I'm just like, you do know that's not quite how that works, right?
And also they compare to like China as well, and he said that in China they have like, what was it, that children or those who are like, who can use the apps in a certain age, but they're still like teenagers or under the 18, I guess.
Yeah.
That they do have like a 40 minutes watch time, because they don't want them to like watch in the forever like that.
Exactly.
Because like even in China, they try to promote that they're not going to be consumed by the app and actually do other things.
Right.
And I think he also did mention that they could do that in today's TikTok in the state as well, but that nobody really uses it. And because like the government tried to say, you guys are trying to let the American like people be consumed by the app and yada yada yada, and he was like, no, like, and it's not really on the TikTok to do that. It's actually supposed to be either the parents or the people, so I just wanted to say that most of the things that they blamed on TikTok is some things that I think the parents should monitor, and the app shouldn't do that. But he did try to find solutions in how to help out with that parenting, I guess.
Yeah, they just didn't want to listen, because it is not TikTok's job to raise your children. You are the parent. You are the one who restricts their screen time. like I said, even when we was coming up, when we grew up in the era where, smartphones was just now becoming a thing, but even then, like, our parents made sure we got exercise, they fed us right. That's, as a parent, that's your job. That is not a platform's job to restrict your child from it. That's your job. But as you see, Congress does not want to take responsibility for that. They want to absolve themselves of that responsibility and put it on someone else to make them seem like the bad guy when it's not his fault. It has nothing to do with him. But, well, this is going to be a really long one. So I guess I think it's fair to cut it off right about here. This one's probably going to be like 50 minutes.
We had a lot of things to say, so.
Yeah, this is a very passionate podcast episode. So, I would encourage each and every one of you as listeners, go watch the whole back and forth on YouTube. The entire 4 hours, 5 hours is on YouTube. You can definitely kind of make your own opinions, form your own opinions, and just kind of see how that transpired. And also let us know, do you use TikTok? Do you enjoy TikTok? Well, some of you, I'm pretty sure, have, found us on TikTok or follow us on TikTok.
Like, what do you feel about this whole issue? Yeah,
definitely let us know as well, because dialogues like this is what causes change or cause us to question when things are wrong. This is a community we're building here. So it may not be about crime specifically, but TikTok has been a platform that has allowed people to report crime, whether it be corruption or whether it be, it's literally a plethora of things.
Smaller businesses that don't have the money to use commercial at agencies, for example, or anything like that, or get sponsored, like, who have a hard time with that, especially during COVID. TikTok helped a lot of businesses and a lot of people.
A lot of businesses.
What? Sorry?
No, I was just repeating what you're saying.
Yeah. And I just also want to say, from the overall impression that I received about this whole issue, is that the Congress seemed to just want TikTok to look bad, and we criticized their basically throughout this whole discussion, their questions, basically, that it didn't really make sense and it seemed very hypocritical. We still don't really have any kind of proper evidence, and the evidence that we have received from the Congress so far hasn't really made, like, it didn't really seem like a proper evidence, I guess I would say. And I think also that people make sure that you do your own research and read about this whole issue also yourself, to get a better understanding of the whole thing, because so far it did not look like, to me, it looked very unprofessional, very hypocritical, and they just tried to make him look and TikTok look bad, which, like, I would say should in that case be applied to all of the social medias in that case, and not only on TikTok, based on what they're saying. But I don't think social media is a bad thing. I think it's a good source of information and understanding, and I think it's also a good place to learn and also be more curious to learn more. So that's it basically for me. And good job, Mr. Chu, for protecting your company. You did really well. Good job.
Yeah, I think we're good for today. Let us know what you think. If you're enjoying the podcast, like I said, leave a review. Let us know what you think on our social media platforms. And also, don't forget, we will be having a Twitch channel as well, so we can have discussions like this, a more personable discussion like this on Twitch. So feel free to go, follow the Twitch channel. By the time you see or hear this episode, we'll have the link up. The channel's still under construction, but it's just a way for us to be a little bit more personable with our community, so that way we can, just have more chats like this in long form, compared to always having some sort of, limit before you get listening fatigue and get tired of our voices. So, just like I said, hit us up on social media. Let us know what you think. Give us your opinions. And above all, instead of ending it on a food note, because I don't think today was like super negative compared to what we usually talk to, but just above all, do your own research. Compile your own pieces of information, form your own opinions truly and deeply. I mean this. Be your own thinker. Do not take anyone's words at
Always
face value.
Always be critical as well.
Exactly. Critically think about everything. And I mean everything. Because thinking like that can actually end up saving your life one day. So, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you in next week's episode. I don't want to spoil which one it is, but we'll get back to the regular daily programming. Say what? Peace out.
Even though the podcast is over, we wanted to show you like a short montage of clips from the hearing so you can hear for yourselves. And I hope you guys will enjoy that.
Hey guys, it's Sho here. As you know, I just testified before Congress, and I wanted to share my thoughts about the experience with you. Now, before I do that, I really want to thank you for the comments in the last video. Now, TikTok is all about conversations and community, and I'm so grateful to hear from all of you. Now, here are a few of my favorites. Now, that is what it's all about. A lot was said at the hearing, but I hope you heard the message, the important message, that it is our responsibility to protect more than 150 million Americans who love and use our platform. Now, this is why I'm making the following commitments to you. Number one, we will continue to keep safety, especially for teenagers, a top priority. Second, we will continue to protect your data from unauthorized foreign access. Now, in the US, American data will be stored on American soil by an American company overseen by American personnel. Third, we will ensure that TikTok remains a platform for free expression and that it cannot be manipulated by any government. And fourth, we will be transparent and give access to third-party independent monitors to keep us accountable for our commitments. Now, we know that trust is built with every decision we make. We are proud of the groundbreaking work we are doing to be the most trusted platform in the world. Thank you for listening. I hope you share this information with your friends, your family, and your elected officials on why TikTok is important to you.
Mr. Cho, can you assure me, or can you at least tell me, if you turn on airplane mode on a plane, can TikTok talk to the plane, please?
As I understand it, there's a sister app in China, Douyin. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation. Do they have these same things over there? Do they have these kind of challenges in China?
Congressman, I'm really glad you asked this question.
Do they, yes or no?
I'm not sure because...
Yeah, whoa, come on now. You're not sure?
I really am not sure.
Remember, you took the chair lady, she said, you got to tell the truth, okay? Do you know whether they have these kind of challenges like this over in China? Because it's my understanding they don't.
I'm not sure because I spend my energies running TikTok.
And you don't look at any of your other competitors or look at anything similar to yours. So you don't know whether they don't have this over in China.
I did.
We have it here, but they don't have it here. And that's why I'm asking you this. Why is it that TikTok consistently fails to identify and moderate these kinds of harmful videos? Why is it? Why is it that you allow this to go on? We've already heard, God bless you, from parents who are here with us, who have lost children. I submit to you, everybody up here cares about the children of this country. Tell me why.
This is a real industry challenge, and we're working
No,
very
it's not
hard.
industry. This is TikTok.
We're
talking about TikTok. We're talking about why is it that you can't control this? And although I believe in giving credit where credit's due, I want to thank you. It's my understanding that the video that threatened the life of the chairwoman has been removed. Thank you for doing that. Sorry we had to bring it to your attention here, but it's been removed. Tell me why this goes on.
This is an industry challenge for all of us here operating in this country.
Okay, so much for industry challenge. I want to shift gears real quick. I want to talk about biometric matrix, and I want to talk specifically, can you tell me right now, can you say with 100% certainty that TikTok does not use the phone's camera to determine whether the content that elicits a pupil dilation should be amplified by the algorithm? Can you tell me that?
We do not collect body, face, or voice data to identify our users. We do not. The only thing,
you don't.
The only face data that you will get, that we collect, is when you use the filters to have, say, sunglasses on your face. We need to know where your eyes are. And
Why do you need to know what the eyes are if you're not seeing if they're dilated?
And that data is stored on your local device and deleted after use if you use it for facial. Again, we do not collect body, face, or voice data to identify our users.
I find that hard to believe. It's our understanding that they're looking at the eyes. How do you determine what age they are then?
We rely on age gating as our key age assurance.
Age
gating, which is when you ask the user what age they are. We have also developed some tools where we look at their public profile to go through the videos that they post to see whether...
Well, that's creepy. Tell me more about that.
It's public. So if you post a video, you choose that video to go public, that's how you get people to see your video. We look at those to see if it matches up the age that you talked about. Now, this is a real challenge for our industry because privacy versus age assurance is a really big problem.
Look, you keep talking about the industry. We're talking about TikTok here. We're talking about children dying. Do you know how many children have died because of this? Do you have any idea? Can you tell me?
Congressman, again, it's heartbreaking.
Can you tell me how many children in America have died because of challenges like this?
The majority of people who use our platform use it for positive experiences.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you, tell me the number of children, of U.S. children who have died because of these challenges.
Congressman, again, the majority of people who come on our platform get a good experience.
I'm not talking about the majority of children. I want to know a number.
Dangerous challenges are not allowed on our platform. If we find them, we will remove them. We take this very seriously.
Obviously, you found one today and you removed it. We had to bring it to your attention, and I know I'm out of time. Thank you for being here. Welcome again to the most bipartisan committee in Congress.
Your technology is literally leading to death. Mr. Chu, yes or no? Do you have full responsibility for your algorithms used by TikTok to prioritize content to its users? Yes or no, please?
Congressman, I'll just like to, if respectfully, if you don't mind, I would just like to start by saying it's devastating to hear about the news of, as a father myself, this is tragic.
Yes or no? I'll repeat the question. Do you have full responsibility over the algorithms used by TikTok to prioritize content to its users? Yes or no, please?
Congressman, we do take these issues very seriously.
Yes or no?
And we do provide resources for anyone who types in anything that...
Sir, yes or no? I see you're not willing to answer the question or take any responsibility for your parents' companies, the technology, and the harms it creates. It's just very, very sad. Very sad.
It's very sad. I can get back to you on the details of that.
Get back to me.